This is Art 157, lecture on particles. First thing I want to make sure that you know is I basically, you can download this from Angel, but I have a package, MUT, Mastering Unreal Technology. It's an older book, Chapter 10, and that's where we're getting the textures and the resources from. If you don't have that loaded or visible inside the content folder, so in C drive, UDK content, and it's not in there, when you go to open this map, the textures are going to be missing, and you'll get an error. So you can't work with files outside. Ideally, I recommend doing customs and doing it inside there, which you can see I basically brought the whole article, or Art157 particle start file, and just literally dumped it into maps. And then I opened up particles one, so you can see the different materials that exist there, and we're going to be using these throughout the demo today. So let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to create particles, and it's probably easier to show than explain. So let's go in and let's just create a new particle system. So do new particle system. We're going to create a folder called particles, and name this will be emitter. Let's do demo 1 emitter and hit OK. Okay, so it's saving it out, and it's decided now that I've done this package, it's fully loading it, and that's why it's taking a second, because it's like, oh, okay, I need to get everything up. So we'll just let it do its thing, and once it's done with that, we can get our package. Okay, so here's our particle system, and Cascade is the name of the editor for the particles. And you'll see a bunch of different things in here. The curve editor, we don't need that at all. We're not going to be using it. This is kind of the window where you do the settings and controls for different items, and then this is your preview. Now I always turn on the ground plane, and this helps you just get an idea of scale. And what an emitter is it generates particles, and each one has this default texture assigned to it. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to drag this into the scene and pull it up and over, and we should do this in 3D view, but we'll get close enough. And almost there. So basically we want to have it look like it's coming out of the steam pipe. So that looks pretty good there. Okay, so we have the basic emitter, we have it set up, and now what we want to do is we want to play around with getting it to look more realistic, and the way we do that is we're going to start messing around with the particle settings. So let's open back up the particles, and let's start to do some basic things. So there's a lot of settings for this. First thing we want to do is we're actually going to create a new material. So before we do anything, and this is going to be used, so we'll do new material, and we'll just put this in the materials folder, and I'm going to call this demo 1 Steam. Hit OK. And now we got that loaded up, and now I need to bring in some items for this. So what I need to do is I'm going to go find the smoke texture, which is inside. Let's just go find it real quick. And this is pre-made, so there's a smoke texture. I got that highlighted. And now we'll go back into the material editor, and new texture sample. Okay, so there's our smoke. Don't have to do anything special, we can just use. Now what we want to do is, in order to see the color for this, and also we're going to assign this, just so you know, we're going to assign this to the emissive, which is the equivalent of self-illumination in 3D Max, ambient sometimes in other channels. And when you create a particle, it's actually a sheet or a plane. So you can see we have a basic image of just kind of a puff, and you can see the emissive is basically coming out of here, so it won't respond to the lights at all. Now, in order to adjust this and be able to control it, we need to add what's called a vertex color. So we can't do this direct. We need to actually add. So we got some math functions here. Oh, wait. Let's see. Actually, let me just pull up the color constant coordinates. looking for the multiply. Where are you hiding? There you are. Okay, I had them begin. Okay, so we're going to add a multiply modifier, and then we're also going to add a vertex color expression. So let's see, vectors, texture, vertex color. Oh, there we go. Vertex color. Okay, so what we do is we take the vertex color and we take the texture sample and we combine and multiply the two of them. And then that's going to go into our emissive. And now you see we basically have the same thing, but what we can do is we can dial this up and down to increase and decrease. So if I come and I take the value of the vertex color, I can adjust it via the cascade. So we hook that up. The only other thing we want to do with this is we want to make it semi-transparent. So the easiest way to do this is we're just going to choose additive. And what it's going to do is, you can see a little with the grid, is it basically adds the two. And then the other thing we want is we want to make it unlit, because particles generally don't respond to light. It's too processor intensive. So you can see we can adjust that. And if you want people to see it from both sides, you can do two-sided as well. So now that material is all done. So we'll close and we'll save that out. And next thing we want to do is we're going to load that up and see what it looks like. So close out, and what's this? Okay, we got our particle emitter here, and let's see, emitter, and here's the material. So I highlighted required, open up the material. Let me decrease the width. This is a little insane. And then let's go find the new smoke material that we made. There it is, and let's load it up. And you can see already now it looks like we have little puffs of steam. So that's pretty helpful. Now there's a lot of other settings that we can do, and you can spend, a lot of time learning these. Also got to save this package real quick. So we're just going to do some basic settings just to get it set up. Once we're done saving this package, let's give it a sec. Okay, so minimize that out. And we can see basically the two at the same time. So what we want to do is we'll go in and we'll start to do these step by step. So the first thing we do is max draw count. So if we close this out, emitter, and we start to look at the different settings, you can see there's duration, delay, etc. Spawn, and we open up spawn, you can see there's a rate of how quickly things are created. If we open up the emitter, you can see its name, so there's a bunch of different options that we can do as far as getting different settings. So let's just kind of pop these all open and see what we got. Okay, so if we go down to rendering, you can see use max draw count. This is basically, you always have 500 particles. It's the maximum you can get. Now if we decrease this, let's decrease this to 10 just so you can see what happens. Now you can only have 10, so it creates 10 and then stops, and then once one dies, it creates new ones. Now the rate at which is being distributed, we want to change, so it's the number of particles that we're creating per second. So let's go into spawn and rate, and you can see inside rate, right now this is set to a constant of 20. So we want to increase this, and what it'll do is if we increase it to 30, it's going to create, you see, a little puff, because what it's doing is it's creating 30 per second as opposed to 20. So it's increasing the amount. So we can adjust that and increase and decrease it as far as we want to kind of give it a different look. Now the lifetime is how long these survive, and right now the default lifetime form is they last 1 second, and that's why they're disappearing when they hit the ceiling. So if we change, now this is a range, if we change the max to 1.25, now a couple will last a little bit longer than the other ones, and you create more visual variety and it looks more natural. And then size distribution, which is the initial size, we can take this and we can increase and decrease the max and minimum. So let's open up and set all the maxes to 15, so this is going to make the texture a little smaller. And then let's open up the mins, and and set those all to 5. And now you see how we have a much smaller poof that we're going to get. Now at this point it's defaulting, it's going up. We want to shoot it out to the side. So if we do initial velocity, which is initial movement for it, we can open it up and we will go into the start velocity and get the min and max. And the max values, we're going to set x to 10, which it already is, y to 90, which is going to push it out to the side, you can see. And rather than going up too fast, we do 25 up for this. Not 200, 25. And set that up, and now you can see it kind of does a puff to the side. And then for minimum values, just to kind of switch that out, we'll do -10, 50, and what will we set this one to 0, which basically means it won't move up at all. So now you can see we have this little puff and it goes out the sides. And then the other thing we want to do is we can change the color over time. So if we go into the color over life module and open that up, we have color over life, which we'll look at later. We're not going to do that one, but what we will do at this point is we'll do alpha over life, which is the transparency. So if we open this up, you can see basically there's 2 points. This is the value at the start, and this is the value at the end of its life. So 0 is when it's created, 1 is when it's not there, and the in value at 0 is 1. So right now we have the alpha channels all the way up at 1. Now if I knock this down to 0.5, what will happen is there's less transparency. This is more transparent. And the one that we really want to look at is the one at the end, which right now is an out value. So an in value, out value of 0, which basically means that it's going to disappear. So you can kind of play around with this. If we set this to 1 and 1, then what will happen is they won't fade out when they get to the end. And if we change this to 0, what will happen is as they get closer to the life, they'll fade out. So it's pretty subtle, but that's what we want to do in order to set this up. And at this point we can do a save the thumbnail preview. So let's get in close and look at this. And if we go to the camera right here, it'll take a new thumbnail image. And that is basically all we need to do. There's other stuff we can do in the instructions, but that's all we're going to do at this point. So if I go out, you can see there's our little puffs of smoke, and they're going out and they're doing different things. So let's save the package. Okay, save this out. And save the scene as final. And then we'll move to the next one. Okay, so you can see the image is updated. So let's open up the next scene, which is 2. And this one is slightly different. What this is we're going to look at creating a torch. If you look at this basic scene right now, you can see we have lights. You could get these animated if you want to do more variety, but this is pretty simple. But we'll start with the same process again. Bring up the content browser, and we'll create a new particle system, and we'll put this in the particles folder again, and we'll call this demo2 emitter, and actually we'll have multiple ones, but that'll be fine. Okay, so you can see we've got our grid on. We're looking at it. We see all the basic settings with it. Let's go ahead and just place this where we need to, and I'm just going to place it here, but ultimately you want to place it at all the different bases. These are supposed to be, the idea behind it is these are supposed to be like little gas jets where the particles are actually coming out. So we place that on the scene, and the first thing we want to do is get our material like we did last time. So let's select textures, and we're going to use a special type of material. And there it is. There's the fire. And we'll create a new material. And actually I was putting this in a folder called materials. Demo2 flames. Okay. And get this so we can see it. And at this point we don't have anything because there's no actual material loaded up. So let's go back to the textures, go find the fire and drag that in.